What if the biggest financial mistake many Americans make after turning 65 isn't spending too much? What if it's quietly paying for things they may no longer need to pay in full? Simply because nobody ever tells them to ask. Something changes the moment you cross into retirement age. Not just your calendar, not just your Medicare eligibility. The entire financial system begins treating you differently. Federal agencies, state governments, county offices, insurance companies, banks, utility providers. Each one has its own rules. Each one has its own programs. Each one assumes something remarkable, that you already know they exist. The reality is very different. Every year, millions of older Americans continue paying fees, premiums, taxes, and service charges that could have been reduced or in some cases avoided altogether, not because anyone broke the law, but because many benefits require one simple step. You have to ask. That's the part almost nobody explains. The information often exists on public websites. The programs are funded. The eligibility rules are published. But very few organizations actively contact every person who might qualify. Instead, enrollment frequently begins only after someone files an application, requests a review, or asks the right question. And according to government agencies and nonprofit organizations that help older adults navigate benefits, many eligible people never do. Today we're going to look at several areas where retirement changes the financial conversation. Not miracle programs, not secret loopholes, and certainly not guaranteed savings for everyone. Instead, these are legitimate areas worth reviewing because eligibility depends on where you live, your income, your insurance, your property, and your personal circumstances. Before we begin, one important note: nothing in this video is legal, tax, or financial advice. Rules change. Programs vary by state. Income limits are updated regularly. Always confirm your own situation with the appropriate government agency or a qualified professional before making financial decisions. Now, let's begin with the expense that surprises more homeowners than almost anything else: property taxes. For many retirees, a mortgage eventually disappears, but property taxes never seem to stop. In fact, in many communities, they continue increasing long after the house has been paid off. What many homeowners don't realize is that numerous states, counties, and municipalities offer some form of tax relief specifically designed for older residents. The details vary dramatically. Some jurisdictions offer homestead exemptions. Others provide assessment freezes. Some reduce the taxable value of the home. Others cap future increases. A few even offer rebate programs for qualifying homeowners. The important detail isn't that every homeowner qualifies. They don't. The important detail is that many people never check whether they do. Local assessors don't always automatically enroll homeowners. Application requirements differ. Deadlines differ. Income limits differ. And sometimes eligibility begins the year you turn 65 without anyone sending you a reminder. For someone living on a fixed retirement income, spending 15 minutes reviewing county information could potentially make a meaningful difference over many years. The next area isn't about housing. It's about healthcare. Medicare helps millions of Americans every year. But Medicare itself contains multiple programs that many beneficiaries never fully explore. Some people qualify for assistance paying Medicare premiums. Others qualify for programs that reduce prescription drug costs. Still others may benefit from reviewing their Medicare Advantage or Part D coverage during annual enrollment periods. One of the biggest misconceptions is that choosing a Medicare plan once means you're finished forever. In reality, plans change. Drug formularies change. Provider networks change. Premiums change. Your own medical needs change. That's why organizations like SHIP, the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, exist. SHIP counselors provide free, unbiased guidance to Medicare beneficiaries across the country. Yet many retirees don't discover the program until years after enrolling, not because it's hidden, simply because nobody mentioned it. Then there are prescription medications. Drug prices receive enormous attention in the news. But many beneficiaries never compare their current plan against alternatives available during open enrollment. Others never ask whether lower-minus-cost generic options exist. Some pharmaceutical manufacturers also operate patient assistance programs for specific medications. Again, these programs aren't universal. Not everyone qualifies, but asking costs nothing. And sometimes one conversation leads to savings that continue month after month. Now let's leave healthcare for a moment and talk about something almost every household pays: utilities. Electricity, natural gas, water, internet, phone service. Many utility companies operate assistance programs tied to age. disability, income, or energy usage. Some states administer separate energy assistance programs during periods of high heating or cooling demand. The rules vary enormously depending on where you live. Some benefits apply automatically. Others require annual applications. Some are funded year-round. Others open only during certain seasons. What matters is knowing these programs exist before assuming the monthly bill is simply fixed forever. Next comes banking. If you've had the same checking account for 20 years, when was the last time someone reviewed whether it still matches your needs? Bank fee structures change. Minimum balance requirements change. Account types change. Some institutions offer products designed specifically for retirees or long-term customers. Others may waive certain fees if you simply ask for an account review. The same idea applies to credit cards. Annual fees, interest rates, reward structures. Many people continue using the exact same products they opened decades earlier without ever comparing newer alternatives. Sometimes the better option is staying exactly where you are. Sometimes it isn't. The point isn't that every bank owes you a discount. The point is that financial products should be reviewed just as regularly as insurance policies or investment accounts. Because circumstances change, and retirement changes almost everything. That leads us to perhaps the most important lesson of all. Retirement isn't just about replacing a paycheck. It's about learning an entirely different financial system. A system filled with separate agencies, separate deadlines, separate applications, separate eligibility rules. No single office coordinates all of them for you. No universal letter arrives explaining every program you should investigate, which means the people who benefit the most are often the people willing to spend a little time asking questions. Not because they're luckier, not because they have better connections, but because they understand one simple principle. The biggest financial opportunities after 65 often don't begin with paperwork. They begin with curiosity. If there's one idea that connects everything we've talked about so far, it's this. Retirement doesn't automatically lower your expenses. It changes the rules that determine which expenses you may be able to reduce. The challenge is that those rules are scattered across dozens of different agencies, companies, and programs. No single office reviews your entire financial picture. Your county doesn't know what your insurance company offers. Your bank doesn't know which Medicare program you're enrolled in. Your utility provider doesn't know what tax relief you receive. Each organization sees only one small piece of your life. That means the responsibility for connecting those pieces usually falls on you. And that's exactly why financial counselors who specialize in retirement often recommend creating what they call an annual benefits review. Not because something dramatic changes every year, but because many programs, income limits, premiums, deductibles, and enrollment opportunities do. Take insurance as an example. Many retirees assume that once they select a Medicare Advantage or Part D plan, the decision is finished. But every fall, plans release updated information. Premiums may increase. Prescription formularies can change. Doctors may join or leave provider networks. Co-payments can rise or fall. A medication that was inexpensive one year may become significantly more expensive the next. Meanwhile, another plan available in the same county can better match your current medical needs. That doesn't mean everyone should switch. It simply means reviewing your options has become part of responsible retirement planning. The same principle applies to homeowners insurance. Construction costs change. Replacement values change. Deductibles change. Some companies introduce discounts for home safety improvements, automatic payments, or bundled policies that didn't exist when your policy was originally written. Many people stay with the same insurer for decades without ever asking whether their current coverage still represents the best value. Again, asking doesn't guarantee lower costs, but not asking guarantees you never find out. Another area that's easy to overlook is banking. Retirement changes the way money moves through your accounts. Paychecks disappear. Social Security deposits begin. Required minimum distributions may eventually arrive. Automatic bill payments become more common. Those changes may affect which account types make the most sense. Some financial institutions offer products designed for customers with predictable retirement income. Others provide fee waivers tied to direct deposits or minimum balances. The important point isn't that every bank offers identical benefits. They don't. It's that reviewing your accounts every few years is just as important as reviewing your insurance policies. Now let's talk about subscriptions. This may sound like a small issue compared with taxes or healthcare, but financial planners repeatedly point to recurring subscriptions as one of the easiest places to recover unnecessary spending. Streaming services, cloud storage, magazine subscriptions, fitness memberships, identity protection plans. extended warranties, automatic software renewals. Many people accumulate these services over decades. Some are still useful. Others continue renewing simply because nobody has canceled them. A careful review of recurring monthly charges often reveals services that are rarely used but continue quietly drawing money from the same checking account month after month. Individually, they may seem insignificant. Together, they can add up surprisingly quickly over the course of a year. Another conversation worth having involves estate documents. Many people prepare wills, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives once, place them in a drawer, and never look at them again. But families change. Addresses change. Financial institutions change. State laws occasionally change. Professionals frequently recommend reviewing these documents periodically, not necessarily rewriting everything, but confirming that they still reflect your wishes and contain current information. Doing so can prevent confusion and unnecessary complications later for the people you care about most. One habit shared by many financially organized retirees is remarkably simple. They schedule one day, every year, as their financial review day. Not because they enjoy paperwork, because it prevents small issues from becoming expensive ones. On that day, they review insurance. They check banking fees. They confirm beneficiary designations. They examine recurring subscriptions. They compare Medicare information if applicable. They organize tax documents. And they create a simple list of questions to ask during upcoming appointments. It's not exciting, but over many years, consistency often produces better financial outcomes than reacting only when something goes wrong. Perhaps the most valuable lesson isn't about any specific government program or company policy. It's about recognizing that retirement is an active financial stage of life. Many people spend decades learning how to earn income. Far fewer spend time learning how to manage retirement efficiently. Yet retirement can last 20 or even 30 years. Small annual improvements, repeated consistently, can have a meaningful long-term impact. That's why professionals often encourage retirees to build a simple checklist rather than relying on memory. Review property tax information. Review Medicare coverage. Review insurance policies. Review banking relationships. Review subscriptions. Review tax withholding. Review estate documents. One afternoon each year may be enough to answer questions that otherwise remain unanswered for another 12 months. The goal isn't to chase every possible discount. The goal is confidence. Confidence that you're paying for the services you actually want. Confidence that your coverage still fits your needs. Confidence that you've taken the time to understand the programs available where you live. Because informed decisions almost always outperform assumptions. If today's discussion highlights anything, it's this. The financial system after 65 isn't necessarily simpler than it was before retirement. In many ways, it's more complex. But complexity doesn't have to become confusion. Reliable information is publicly available. Qualified counselors exist. Government agencies publish guidance. Financial professionals can explain the rules that apply to your individual circumstances. The challenge isn't that the information is impossible to find. It's knowing which questions deserve to be asked. So before another year passes, consider setting aside one afternoon to review your financial picture from beginning to end. Not because someone says you're making mistakes, but because retirement deserves the same careful planning that helped build the life you've spent decades creating. Sometimes the most valuable financial decision isn't opening a new account, buying a new investment, or making a dramatic change. Sometimes it's simply taking the time to verify that everything you already have is still working as effectively as it should, and that may be one of the smartest investments you make all year.